Judges interpret and apply the law across every area of community life, from family, court, to criminal proceedings. Each will have 2 minutes of an introduction. Would you please welcome Ben Salorio and Veronica Henderson. We will start with opening statements. And shall we go with Ben Salorio and then Veronica? Please begin and get close to the mic.
Good evening, Brawley and Democratic Club of Imperial County. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Ben Salorio, candidate for judge. I am the Chief Public Defender of Imperial County. I have been the Chief Public Defender for a decade now. I am also a Trial Attorney of the Year, awarded by the Imperial County Bar Association for my trial work. I am also in the IVC Hall of Fame for my work inside the courtroom, the superiority of my courtroom skills, and the vast amount of trials that I have done as a lawyer. I'm also a veteran of the U.S. Army. Proudly served in the 101st Airborne Division, and I'm happy to say that I'm also a member of the American Legion, the largest veteran organization in America. And I also want to highlight to you all that we have not had a veteran selected as Superior Court judge, get ready for this, in 23 years. 2003 was the last time we had a veteran selected as judge. My friends, that is unacceptable. We have veterans such as myself that are lawyers that are ready, qualified, willing to lead, and yet we've been ignored. That stops on June 2nd. My friends, more importantly though than all these titles and awards and all these trophies I have, is the fact that I am 100% Valley local, born and made. I was born in Calexico. I'm a 4th generation Valley local. My family has lived here continuously in the Imperial Valley since 1915. My kids, I'm proud to say, are now 5th generation. I have been married to my wife, Miss lovely Erica, there for almost 24 years. And we've made our family and our life here, and I would appreciate your vote on June 2nd as the most experienced, the only local candidate, and the only military veteran.
Thank you. Veronica Henderson.
Thank you. My name is Veronica Henderson. I'm a candidate for Superior Court Judge. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. A little about me. El Centro, California is my home. I am the proud daughter of an immigrant mother and a Navy veteran father. I am a lifelong registered Democrat. 3 things set me above and apart from any other candidate for Superior Court Judge. First, my courtroom experience. I bring almost 26 years of legal experience to the court. I serve as a judge pro tem in both Imperial and the Quetzon Tribal Court. I have served as a prosecutor and a defense attorney in over 60 jury trials, everything from fish and game violations to murder. In Imperial County courts, I represent people in criminal, juvenile, child welfare, family law, probate, restraining orders, and general civil matters. The next judge in Imperial County needs to be available to assume the bench in any and all matters that come before our courts. Second, my commitment to the community. Your next judge needs to be someone who demonstrates commitment to the welfare of Imperial Valley residents by giving back to the community. I have a list of organizations that I have given my time to, the Humane Society, United Way, etc. I spend hundreds of hours each year providing free legal services to domestic violence victims, elder abuse victims, and for 18 years I have helped our high school students in the county-wide mock trial competition, and this year I judged the ICOE Migrant Education Speech and Debate competition. Third, I want to talk about my vision for the future of justice. We need to make changes in our court system. Specifically, we need to end the practice of mass incarceration and develop and implement collaborative treatment courts, including veteran courts, drug courts, mental health courts, and youthful offender courts.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank
Our
you.
2 minutes are up. So now we start with the round of questions. The first prepared question of 3 is access to justice. And we will go ahead and start with Veronica and alternate the questions as we go along. Imperial County is culturally, economically, and linguistically diverse. Many residents face barriers when interacting with the legal system. What steps can the local Superior Court and its judges take to ensure that justice is accessible and understandable to everyone in our community, and that the courtroom reflects fairness and respect? Veronica?
Thank you. I am so tickled to hear the word access to justice, because that is exactly what I am promoting. I am endorsed by the Honorable Judge Juan Ulloa, who received the highest award in the state of California for access to justice. I plan to continue his legacy. And how am I going to do that? By, first of all, implementing the very treatment courts that I mentioned. These courts allow all people who have various conditions, mental health conditions, drug addiction, etc., to be given another chance, to be given treatment as an option, to not have a conviction, including our youthful offenders, 18 to 25-year-olds, who getting a conviction might mean they do not get a job. We want our young people to be employable. In terms of access, actual access, I also agree we need to expand where our courts are located. Now, that's up to the state to build new courts, but there's absolutely no reason why we cannot use venues in various parts of our very large valley. If you don't think this valley or this county is big, run for office. You will see. It is absolutely huge, and we need to provide access. Maybe we can use existing conference rooms in various places. We can do pop-up courts. There's a number of things we can do without having to allocate or spend millions of dollars on building a new court. We can certainly go to the outstretches of our community. There's no reason we can't do that. I am willing to do that. Should I become a Superior Court judge, I will be the first to volunteer to go to Salton City or anywhere we need to go, because we need to bring justice to the people. That is absolutely a cornerstone of our system, is to make sure that all people have access, and also to make sure that people are not intimidated by our court system. People are afraid. People do not enjoy walking into court. They do not enjoy getting that little green card saying that you have jury duty. We need to make these courtrooms more accessible. We need to answer to what people need. And most importantly, I need to know, what do you think we need? And that's why I am asking, I have a little survey that was on your chair, and there's more over there, asking 2 questions. One, what is important to you in our system of justice, and what do you want to see changed? I hope 1,000 people at least answer those questions, because I want to be responsive to your needs, and I want to be the judge that is there for the people and for all of you to make sure your needs are being met. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Salorio, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, it's access to justice.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you. Great question. This question actually segues directly into a topic I brought up. I was invited to speak at a Martin Luther King event at the steps of the courthouse a few months ago. And I brought up this topic to the crowd gathered there, that when I first began practicing here in Imperial County back in 2004, when we moved back from the Bay Area, we had courtrooms from the north end of the county to the south end of the county. We had courtrooms in Brawley, El Centro, we had some at the jail, we had some in Calexico, and now, 22, 23 years later, we're down to just 2 courthouses in El Centro. So what that creates is a tremendous problem, especially on the north end. A vast amount of our clients on the north end were completely left out with this consolidation. So, people from Salton City, Nyland, Calipatria, Brawley, Westmoreland, even, Calexico and Hopeville, outlying areas, now have trouble getting to court because they don't have access to the courtrooms we'd had before. So one of the things I think we need to look at is leveraging the technology we have in place. COVID kind of forced everybody to embrace technology. The new courthouse we have on Wake is completely wired and set up for remote witnesses, remote appearances. The old courthouse on Wake is also set up for remote appearances. And I think we need to look at seriously expanding those remote services and abilities, because that would allow folks to just on their phone, even if they're up in Salton City or they're up, in Nyland or Calapat, Westmoreland, they can on their phone kind of, I don't want to say zoom in, but literally zoom into the courtroom and make their court appearances without having to worry about, when is the bus going to come? Is the bus going to show up on time? Do I have a ride? Do I have a babysitter? These are real concerns that my clients, public defender clients, face every day. And what happens is they miss court, bench warrants go out, they get arrested, they miss work, or they lose their government housing or their government benefits. So this is a real problem. The other issue we're having is we're having a shortage of court reporters. Okay, the stenographers that sit there in court, that creates problems, because as lawyers, we depend on the court reporters to accurately write down everything that's said in court, because if we need to file an appeal, we need an actual court transcript to send to the Court of Appeal. Again, since COVID, we've had a tremendous shortage of court reporters. So I think that's something that needs to be fixed legislatively. It's not something that's going to come just from the judicial branch. It has to be the judicial branch working with the legislature and the governor to come up with the fix. Because right now, we're in a desert, but we're in a desert of court reporters. We don't have enough. And finally, we also need to be a little bit more sensitive to court interpreters. We need more court interpreters, not just Spanish. We need Mandarin. We need a lot more court interpreter services. And again, that requires work with the legislature.
Thank you very much. The next question involves prevention and rehabilitation, and Mr. Salorio, we'll start with you.
Sure.
Across the country, courts are increasingly involved in programs focused on rehabilitation and prevention. What role should courts play in supporting alternatives that address the root causes of crime? 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, so thank you. So I think the courts should be at the forefront of looking at these evidence-based practices with rehabilitation and trying to give people an off-ramp to mass incarceration. However, as I mentioned earlier, the judicial branch is a separate but co-equal branch of government. The judicial branch just cannot on its own come up and say, hey, we're going to create all these programs and this is how we're going to do it. It requires work between the legislature and the courts and the governor's office. So what I think needs to happen is we need to sit down, I think, as a community, right, and decide who should get rehabilitative services and who should not. I think that's a big flashpoint, especially in California. There, over the years, there have been certain crimes that folks felt should be excluded from rehabilitation. I think that's a conversation we need to have as a community. Are there certain crimes where there's just no way back from? That's something we need to discuss, right? Should somebody accused of murder or child molestation or some other horrendous crime, should they be allowed a second chance? That's something we need to discuss as a community. And I don't think an individual judge or a branch can make those decisions. We as a community have to really kind of sit down and have a frank and honest discussion as to what we want, right? Who gets rehabilitative services? And we need to make it so that it's backed by evidence, it's backed by data, not just by emotion, right? Because when things are driven by emotion, right? When emotion is high, logic is low, right? Just look at what happened with the crack cocaine in the 80s, right? They punished it at, forget if it was 10 or 50 times the punishment of powder cocaine. It's the same drug. Chemically, it's the same thing. So I think we need to sit down and figure out, as a community, right, who and what types of crimes deserve a second shot and which ones we're just not going to touch. Because it's going to create a flashpoint, right? If you as an individual judge decide, hey, I'm going to give this particular offense an off-ramp, and another judge disagrees and says, no, well, I'm not going to do it, now you're creating disparities in sentencing. You're treating people differently just based on the fact that they happen to be in a different courtroom. And I think that's why it requires all of us working together along with the legislature and the government to sit down and actually highlight, you know, this is okay, right? If you've got an alcohol or drug problem and you commit maybe a petty theft or, you know, maybe a little vandalism, you know, maybe we'll give you a second shot, but I think it requires all of us working together to identify what those crimes should be.
Thank you. Veronica?
Thank you. Let me first of all say, rehabilitation and prevention of crime are good for everyone in a society. My vision for the future of justice is all about this. We need to make these changes in our court system. Specifically, we need to end the practice of mass incarceration and develop and implement collaborative treatment courts, veterans courts, drug courts, mental health courts, youthful offender courts for youth between the ages of 18 and 25, because anybody who has children knows nothing magical happens at age 18. But what does happen is they are now exposed to adult sanctioning. This can be bad, as I mentioned earlier, in that it can lead to not being able to get a job. These are just some examples. Mental illness and substance abuse are best addressed in treatment courts. Veterans who commit crimes related to their service in the military are entitled to specialized treatment. That is codified in the law. It is in the penal code. The laws are on the books allowing for these courts. We in Imperial County already have a mental health court in Department 7. These are already on the books. These are already being implemented throughout the state of California and the nation. Youthful offenders, age 18 to 25, should be considered for diversion so as not to obtain a conviction which will hinder their ability to secure employment. By working with this young population, we can offer treatment and provide service resources which can lead to success. These collaborative courts are codified in the law. They are evidence-based, and they've been proven to reduce recidivism and improve public safety. Imperial County is one of the few court systems in California that does not have a dedicated drug court. We have the beginnings of a mental health court, but not enough cases are being channeled through this court. This must change. This is good for society. This is good for all of us. Everybody is entitled to rehabilitation if we can offer it. There is no reason why we cannot implement these courts more. Yes, I agree. There will always be a small percentage of the population of criminals who are probably going to be incarcerated for the remainder of their lives, for their protection, but mostly for the protection of society. But that is very few. Did you know that most people who go to prison will get out? Why are we not implementing more prevention, more rehabilitative services, even in our prison system? It's reality, it's cost effective, and it's what we need to do, and it's what I will do.
Thank you. Our next question is a third question of 3 that are prepared, and it's judicial independence and accountability. Judges serve the public but must remain independent from political pressure. What does accountability to this community mean to you, and how do you balance that with the impartiality on the bench? This question goes to Veronica.
Okay, well, let me first of all say, yes, every judge must be held accountable. That's why we have elections. That's why we have a process whereby you can be vetted by the governor, and it's a very rigorous process. And so we have to be very careful who we select to put on our bench. Accountability is obviously, like in any other situation, judges must be held accountable for their actions. No one is above the law. Judges should not sit on pedestals and act like they are anywhere above the law than anywhere else. But in terms of impartiality, let me just say that that is a cornerstone of our judicial system, is treating all people who come before you equally, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their economic situation. I was very pleased to see recently that there have been some changes to the bail situation. It used to be that it was too easy for people with money to be able to bail themselves out of jail. We have since changed that system to look at other factors that are not economically based. No one should be treated worse because they are poor. No one should be better because they are rich. But absolutely, a judge must be impartial. Everybody who comes before me, if I become a judge, will be treated with respect, with treated the same as anybody else. They will be treated as if they are innocent, first of all, until proven otherwise. Everybody, it doesn't matter what they look like, it doesn't matter if they are represented by a high-power lawyer or a public defender. Our public defenders are every bit as good as every high-powered lawyer out there. I will say that. I've been one, and I agree with that. But everybody is entitled to a fair access to justice, but they're also entitled to avail themselves of the programs I have articulated. That is the great equalizer in my view. If you can offer people help, then there's no reason for them not to succeed. If they don't succeed, then that's another story, and now we'll have to talk about the consequences of that. But everybody is entitled to at least be treated the same and given access to these programs I'm talking about. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. With respect to impartiality, I think it's of the utmost importance that the judicial branch kind of stay independent and on its own. Now, there are already rules in place to make sure that happens. For example, as not just the judicial candidate, but judges as well, you're not allowed to get involved in any sort of partisan politics. You can't hold office in any sort of, political organization or get involved in their internal affairs. You're limited in how much you can donate per year to any candidate or cause. You're not allowed to endorse a single person who is not running for judge. So there are guardrails in place to make sure, you kind of stay out of the fray. Because again, you have to be impartial. You can't show that you're in favor of this group or that group. So I think the rules that are in place help that. And I think just individual accountability as a judge, knowing like, hey, you know what, I've been invited to this event. If I go, what's gonna be the optics on that, right? Whatever, you name the event. Anything having to do with partisan politics, if you decide to show up as a judge, what is that gonna show? Are people gonna think you're in favor of whatever, the cause is? So you have to, as a young people say, check yourself, right? You gotta make sure you're not getting yourself into a situation that may bring into question your impartiality. Now, in terms of accountability, I think that's important as well. One of the things that guarantees accountability is what I'm going to call having skin in the game. And by skin in the game, meaning you have a vested interest in what happens in this community, right? I am from this community. My family lives here. My wife lives here. My children, my grandmother, my brothers, my sisters, my cousin, my ancestors are buried here. I care about what happens in this community. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not looking to just become a judge to bounce out in 2 or 3 years to another job. This is my community. This is my home. I have skin in the game. Is that right? This is the utmost seriousness for me. So I think having that, a judge who reflects the community, who's from the community itself, who is here with his family, guarantees that accountability. Because if we do something wrong, if we do something just, completely off the cuff, we're not just hurting you, we're hurting ourselves, right? My family lives here, my brother's own business is here. I care about what happens. Having said that, you still have to treat everybody with respect, dignity, and equality, which is my promise to each and every one of you. If you vote for me to be your next judge, you will be treated with respect, with fairness, with integrity, and you will be given the opportunity to present your case.
Thank you. The next round will be questions from the audience, and we have 3 questions that were selected from the audience, and you will have 1 minute to respond. This is our lightning round of answers, and we're going to start with Ben. If elected, how would you ensure that access to justice and to court services are obtained by communities that feel disconnected from the Superior Court?
Okay, as I mentioned, each judge that's appointed or elected is their own kind of independent entity, okay? So, I can't tell a judge necessarily, you have to do this or this in your courtroom, this or that. But with respect to my courtroom, if elected, like I mentioned, I'm gonna make sure that we have access to all the digital, firmware and hardware we need to permit remote appearances. Again, I'm going to encourage as best we can, within our budget, let's make sure we have interpreters. Let's make sure that people feel welcomed and that they are treated, fairly, with dignity and with respect. But keep in mind that each judge just kind of runs their own courtroom, and you can't just impose your will on another judge. So having said that, thank you. That's my answer.
Thank you. Veronica?
Thank you. I'm going to focus on the word disconnected because I think that word, if anybody feels disconnected from our court system, that is exactly what we need to work on improving, and that is a failure of our system. I do not want anybody to feel disconnected. I want our courts to be more welcoming. I want them to be less intimidating. I have seen the look of fear on so many clients when they walk into a courtroom. Even the criminal defendants who come in from the jail are fearful. And when I am appointed to a criminal defendant, I look at them and I shake their hands and I say, my name is Veronica and I am here to help you. And every single time I do this, I see this wash of relief come across their face because I am maybe the first person who isn't accusing them of something or putting them in a jail or treating them in a harsh way. And that is what it's all about. It is about compassion. It is about understanding. It is about being a part of the community.
Thank you. Okay, Veronica, you will start with this round, and it says, the question is, where does your funding come from in order to expand services?
In order to expand
Court
service.
system.
Okay. So the benefit of treatment courts, you can tell I'm passionate about this topic, is that it's a collaborative court involving multiple agencies and entities. So for example, I'll use a veterans court just to make this example. Veterans courts can involve services coming sometimes from out of town, like San Diego, where they have rich and robust veteran services. It can come from our behavioral health. It can come from our veteran groups. We can have peer-to-peer help from veterans who can meet with a defendant who is now going through a hard time and as a buddy system, help them. But I bring that up because what I love about that system is it spreads the cost and it spreads the wealth of opportunities, the wealth of things that can be done. So obviously we have direct sources of funding, but with that situation we would get funding from a lot of different sources.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. Where do you get your funding from for the court system?
Okay. So
To expand services.
To expand services, got it.
Okay. You want to, hold a minute, you want to start him again, please?
Okay. Thank you. So obviously the court's funding comes direct from the legislature, which comes from you, the people, through taxes. So the court's operating budget is about $14.5 million this fiscal year, with approximately about $1 million, $1.1 million for criminal cases based on the data. So we have to find a way to work within the budget, right? If we have programs, something we want to look at, we have to know what the budget is. Thankfully, I'm familiar with that. Being a department head, public defender, I manage a budget of multi-million dollars. Been doing it for over a decade, and when I was the interim CEO of Imperial County, we also worked, making sure we stayed on budget. So ultimately, funding comes from the legislature, and it comes from you, the taxpayer. So first things first, you got to know what the budget is. The budget for the court is $14.5 million. So from there, you got to look at what you can spend with
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. Okay, we will start with Mr. Salorio, and this question happens to be for you especially, but we expect Veronica to answer as well. You are on YouTube very clearly endorsing the far-right racist Riverside sheriff Chad Bianco. How does this comport with the high expectations of a judge to be fair and impartial to all citizens? Is this endorsement an example of the kind of decision-making you will have when a defendant stands before your court?
Thank you. So I have not publicly endorsed Chad Bianco whatsoever. I have attended a private event one time at the invitation of an association, but again, that was a private event. It was not public. I don't support publicly. We're not allowed to endorse or support any candidate. I am not far right. I am completely, no party preference. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. However, I am interested in listening to persons who have solutions to what I think our problems are. Now, regardless of what a person's personal feelings are, you do have to follow the law whenever you're in court and treat everybody equally. It doesn't matter what my religion is. It doesn't matter where my neighborhood is. It doesn't matter where I stand politically. Everybody gets a fair shake.
Thank you. Veronica?
I do not endorse or support Chad Bianco. I will not sell my soul to the devil in order to become your next Superior Court judge. Let me
Hold
make
it,
that
hold it,
clear.
please.
Let me make that clear. It is inappropriate for us to endorse any candidate. There is a rule of ethics that clearly states that. I am not on any video showing my support for anyone, but especially not for someone like Chad Bianco. That will not be happening.
Thank you. Now we are going to our ending closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes of closing statements, and we will start with Veronica.
Thank you. When I was 18 years old, I asked to volunteer at the local Rape Crisis Center in Austin, Texas, where I was attending the university as a freshman. I would meet sexual assault victims, often in the middle of the night, often at the local hospital where they would be getting examined. I would hold their hands and tell them that everything was going to be okay, even though I did not know that for certain. Thus began my journey of compassion, caring, and community involvement. I now come to you asking for your support to allow me to be your next Superior Court judge so that I can continue the journey and ensure that justice is done in Imperial County. I am proud to be endorsed by Honorable Wanu Yoa, who has been recognized for access to justice. I am also endorsed by Gilbert Otero, long-term district attorney for this county. I worked with him and these business leaders and other community leaders who endorsed me. I have worked alongside in the Imperial Valley to make it better. It is my goal to strengthen public confidence in a justice system that treats everyone fairly, that is responsive to the needs of all who walk through the doors of our courthouses. Toward that end, I'm asking you to answer those 2 questions about what you need and what needs to be changed. The answers to these questions will help shape a more people-centered and effective justice system. As your next judge, I will bring my extensive and unmatched qualifications, my commitment to the community, and vision for the future of justice. I will be the judge for all the people. Una huesa para toda la gente. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Salorio.
Thank you. So once again, thank you, Democratic Committee and Brawley for hosting. The job of a judge is of the utmost seriousness, and it requires somebody with a serious resume. Look at the resumes, compare, right? Compare resumes. I am the Chief Public Defender of Imperial County. I've been so for over a decade. There's over 201,000 active attorneys in California that are licensed. There's only 32 Chief Public Defenders of California. I am one of them. I am one of them. I am the only candidate up here running for judge who still does hearings, who still does trials. My most recent trial was 2 years ago. The most recent one before that was in 2023. I am the only candidate who has documented awards for trial work. Documented awards for trial work. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I'm the Trial Attorney of the Year. All that is based on my work in this community. It's not my opinion that I'm a good attorney. It's not just my thoughts. It's other people who have looked at my record, who have looked at the work I've done in court and have said, you know what? Ben Salorio is the real deal. He is a real attorney, a trial attorney, fighting for the people he represents. And that's what we need in our judicial system. A judge who has real practical experience, recency of experience as well. I'm not talking about trials I've done 20 years ago or 2 years ago or 15 years ago. I am still on the front lines every week representing clients. I'm still in the game. Even though I'm a director, I'm still there. I'm the most qualified, the only local candidate, and as a veteran, I'm asking you, help us send a veteran.
Thank you. Let's give it up for the judges. We will now move